Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Friday Furtado Show, where I, Coach Furtado, Justin Furtado, talk about my experience as a coach and leader from the week. And let's get it. It was summer camp week this week, and so it was the first one, and it was really good. It went really well. You know, today's actually Thursday. I'm recording this on Thursday, so let's be honest. And it's been going really well. I've been working with the 5 and 6 year olds, and so. You know, I just had an opportunity. You know, I was writing, and I'm exhausted right now. And Game 6 of the NBA Finals starts any moment, so I'm a little frazzled. But so I appreciate you sticking with me. But I promise this one will be worth it. With that being said, I was thinking a little bit about the last 5 years I've had an opportunity to work with kids, and it's amazing how far I've come from the very beginning to even the middle to even last year. I'm way better with kids than I was last year. To now. And to be honest, a lot of it translates over to just working with adults too. Obviously it's a little different, especially 5 and 6 year olds, but maybe next week I'll work with the middle schoolers again. So with that being said, let's get right to it. And it's building relationships, and that's what I want to talk about. And that's something that I really noticed that some of the other coaches haven't really quite grasped yet. I think they get really frustrated when kids don't listen. Right, and that's kids being kids, but kids do listen more to people that they have a relationship with, and there's a lot of little things that you can do to build a relationship. And it's this little 7 to 8 minute podcast is not going to cut it, but it can be a reminder to you of a few things that I have learned from other people over the years, and that I now incorporate and that I find effective, that you can begin incorporating. I haven't none of this that I try and do is original, or it's not from me, it's from other people, other leaders that I see do really well. And so with that, I think the number one thing that I really know is true, especially with anyone, with any group, if you got to know everyone's name. And I think that's the bare minimum. And then with that, also on top of that, you have to know something about them. And it's a little harder with summer camp. I don't think I know everything about the kids, but just doing the best of your ability, especially if it's a smaller group, definitely, but I have 30 kids, so I don't know a fact about every kid. But this is one kid who's going to Italy, and I always I joke about him, about pasta, and just being bringing me back some pasta. I even say grape juice too, right? But it's just these little things, and getting to know them. It's curiosity was the number two thing. That's just being curious and genuinely interested about other people. And I think sometimes I ask people things and they're kind of taken aback because they're not used to it. But I think being genuinely curious, I'm genuinely curious about people. I love people. I love learning more about people. I love learning more about kids, my coworkers. I can tell. I think also being mindful of people. Some people aren't sharers though, and some people don't like when they might think I'm kind of snooping or something. I'm just really just trying to get to know them better. But some people it's also being mindful and aware of people that don't want to share. So it's kind of you got to be able to read the room a little bit and understand and have that social awareness. And I think sometimes there's there's a line, and it's not I don't even know how fine it is. It's pretty gray of maybe it's just they're uncomfortable and they want you to ask more questions, or sometimes it's that person's just they don't want to talk, so and you're gonna make some mistakes, right? I've definitely asked too many questions sometimes, and I bet there's someone that's kind of quiet, but that kind of wish I kept asking more questions, even though it was a little bit awkward. So with that leads me to the final one I really wanted to talk about, was just finding commonalities. And that can be challenging too. That can be very, very challenging, right? For basketball, it's especially with the kids interested, it's pretty easy. So the team that I'm coaching, for the week, we kind of chose our teams, and we put them in teams, gave them a name. Of course, I gave them the name Oregon. Let's go Ducks, baby. And, one thing that I've been doing with them is finding a commonality is I know they love YouTube. They love highlight videos. So I show them, the Oregon hype video from the Final Four team. And you got Jordan Bell dunking and, doing some crazy things. And they're oh, that's so cool, and, just really relating to them. I mean, 5 and 6 year olds might be a little bit different, right? But I still remember that I had a coworker coworker at Boys and Girls Club back in the day, and she loved hockey. And I just always ask her about the Las Vegas Aces. No, that's the WNBA team. I'm drawing a blank on the Las Vegas hockey team name, but Golden Knights, maybe the Golden Knights. I just always ask her about the Golden Knights. Give me an update, right? Because it's something, I think a lot of times you just ask, how are you? And a lot of people don't want to talk about how am I, and I do actually think it's very important to ask, like, how actually are you doing? I think that's very, very important, and that goes with that curiosity. Like, what's your mood today? How are you feeling? So those are really important things. But needless to say, this is going to be a short and sweet episode because I want to watch the Celtics and Warriors game 7 in the finals. I'm exhausted. I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. Stay subscribed, and I really appreciate y'all for listening to this. And if if something stuck out, you want to talk more about how you want to build relationships, with mentors, right? Like, I'm always reaching out to people to learn from, and I just I'm always reaching out to people for the podcast. Everything is a relationship business. Unless you're like fully behind the screens, like, you got to be able to figure that out and be able to do that to some sort of extent. So I'll talk a little bit more about that maybe in the coming weeks. I have, a really great episode coming out next week on building trust. So that would be awesome. And maybe I'll touch a little bit more about that next week. But for right now, I'm exhausted, y'all. I'm going to go take care of myself. I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. Sending y'all lots of love, and I'll be in your ears and eyes next week. Peace, y'all.